How's it going, guys? We're back with another restoration video. So today we're going to be restoring this Lesney Matchbox Merriweather fire engine. So this one is a little bit newer than the ones that I usually get. So this is it's like a Superfast is what it is, except I think it is a Superfast. Yeah, it is. Here it says on the black plastic piece. 1969. So this one's a little bit newer. It's around when Hot Wheels started coming out and they needed to compete with them, so they put the really nice, or not, I guess they're not as sturdy, but the faster wheels on them. So this one's been repainted probably more than once, I would assume, because it's in a pretty poor state here, because there's paint everywhere, on the wheels, on the windshield, the grill. You can kind of see some of the original paint, but not much of it, and it definitely needs some help. The wheels are bent, so it doesn't roll straight, as you can see there on the back, and it's missing the ladder on the top, so I'll have to see if I can even find one of those, or make one at least, out of something. So we have our work cut out for us on this one. So we got all the pieces taken apart. You got your body, which is just got a lot of paint on it. You can hardly tell what the original color was, but it was red. I think it was very shiny, as you can tell on the grill there. Half the grill is painted and half the grill isn't. And then you got your window, which was kind of hard to get out because it got the paint on it, and it is cracked just on the top, so thankfully it isn't on the sides or the front, so we can reuse that if we can get the paint off. I think we should be able to. And then here's the interior, I guess. There's nothing really in it. It's just the things that hold on the wheels, and then you got your detailing on the back with the fire truck, with the extinguishers and everything, and it's got a lot of paint on it too, so we'll have to get the wheels off also. So I think we should probably take the paint off the body first. Because this fire truck doesn't have any posts or anything underneath it that I can clamp or I can put a clamp on, I have to use this really high-tech invention I made out of a twist tie you get from the grocery store to hold the car while I paint it. So it worked out pretty well. I had to hang it somewhere to let it dry, but other than that, after I got the first thinner layer of paint on, I just painted another layer on it after I put that one on. While the paint on the car is drying, I'll turn my attention to everything else. I've got my handy little parts bin there for holding all the pieces of the car so I don't lose them. So this is the windshield. We got all the paint off, and underneath it's actually not as bad as I thought it would be. It's still scratched up, but there's not really any cracks in it. There aren't any cracks in it at all, besides on the top. There are some cracks, but it's where you can't see it, and the lights are worn down a little bit, so we'll have to work on that, but we'll have to probably sand the sides and then polish them up so they're shiny and see-through and you can't see any of the scratches and dull spots on it. So we got the windshield done. There's a lot of really deep scratches in it that would take quite a lot of sanding, and would also I would also almost be able to sand through the entire car, so I didn't get those out, as it would take quite a long time with the fine sandpaper, and as you can see there, they're just like gouged in there with probably either a screwdriver or one of these, a pick, or like a dental pick, by probably trying to scratch out the paint from the window. That was already there when I got it, because there was paint covering the window already, so it must have been painted at least twice before I got it. So I also sanded down the little lights on the top. They were already kind of deformed, as it looks like it's been run across the ground, maybe upside down quite a bit. I'm surprised they haven't broken off. It's cracked, but they haven't been pushed down at all, which is nice. And it turned out quite a bit better than it was, because there was just paint and dirt and scratches all over this thing, and it definitely needed help, and it's definitely a lot better than it is. So we need to get the base cleaned up. So it's going to take quite a bit of work, because there is a big chunk taken out of the front grill, or not the grill, the front bumper, and it is just kind of rounded off on this side from play and just being overall worn down, and then we'll have to get the rest of the paint off the sides, and same with the front, as there's quite a bit of paint, but the grill was completely covered with paint, so it's a massive improvement. And we've got the gauges and dials from the back also have paint on them, and same with this piece. It's almost kind of yellow, as you can see there a little bit, and with all of the areas that have paint in them, and a little bit on the bottom too, so we'll have to try and get that off. Before we tackle the base, we have to decide what we want to do with the wheels, as they're not too bad, but they have quite a bit of paint on them, and then the back one is bent, so that won't be too hard to fix. But the major thing is the paint and the scratches. I wanted to put a new pair of wheels on them, but I couldn't find any wheels that I really liked on the fire truck better than the ones that were on there now, which are these, as these would make them look the most original, I think, with the wheels and what era they come from, as the Hot Wheels wheels I don't think would just wouldn't look quite right on them. So we're going to try and fix these up, and if this doesn't work out, we'll find a new pair of wheels for them. The wheels cleaned up pretty nice on this car, so all I did was, if it'll focus there, so painted them and sanded them a little bit so they're smooth, and then with this one, because the back axle was bent, I had to bend it back so the wheels all sit straight, but they turned out pretty good. They're nice and shiny, and I put the silver on the wheels, and I test fitted them on the car, and it looked almost like original, so that is very good. Because the base was in a pretty poor shape, we needed to paint it, so I painted it silver just so it looks a little bit better, and I got most of the paint off of it, and I also used the technique where you use the baking soda and super glue to kind of build up some of the part that had cracked and broken. And I also painted the back. I painted all sides because there was still red paint in the creases that wouldn't come out, and it actually turned out really nice. And you can see the bottom, Lesney, you can still read everything, fire engine, Merriweather fire engine. It looks, and it turned out pretty good. I'm surprised that it turned out as well as it did. The body of the truck had some small details that needed to be painted in, such as the front grille, which also needs to be touched up a little bit, and door handles, and the axe on the side, and also the license plate and the reverse lights. So we painted those in with just some of this Krylon paint, and a toothpick is what I used because it's pretty precise and can get in some small spaces, such as the door handles. As you can see, the the lock is also painted underneath the door handle in the front. So turned out pretty nice. This one did, and the paint is pretty nice too. It's nice and shiny, and nothing really bad to say about it. So these are the pieces that hold the wheels on in these newer Lesney Matchbox cars, the Superfast era at least. They say Superfast on them, so we had to just kind of wash them on the inside. There was nothing really that needed to be done with them, because they just kind of pop out, and then you just push them back into the base right here, as all Superfast cars are that are this style. And nothing too interesting about those. So now all we have to do is put this truck back together, because all of the pieces are finished. I'm really surprised at how well this one actually turned out, because considering the condition that it was in the first place, it was pretty poor. We'll put the wheels back on the base. So first you have to do is put the wheels on like that, and then you put the Superfast tabs facing the right way is the thing, because they face this way, so you can read it like this, so it says Superfast. So then I think you just press it, or if I could get a small screwdriver would usually help. I'm not looking through the camera here because it's kind of hard to see through here. If it'll go in, because I think there's a specific way of doing this. And I don't think, there we go. So it just pops in like that, and you can see kind of it says Superfast on there with the silver background and the black, it doesn't really help being able to read it. So there's the first wheel, and I'm really surprised at how well these wheels turned out, because considering they were bent and painted over, they actually turned out really nice in the end result, because you can't see any original paint on there. I mean, I guess you can see the paint, but you can't see any paint that the person who had this had added afterwards when it was from the factory. So there we go. So those are the wheels on, and they roll and are straight just like any other one, and it actually rolls really nice and straight. If you can see, I'll move this. There we go. Turned out really nice. And then I put the windshield back in, and then you just put the body on like that. And then pop those in. We'll put some glue on there, or a screw or some glue. Usually I'll use glue because I don't really, these are way too short to tap or anything, as they only go up to here. The posts do. So there we go. It looks really nice considering what it looked like before. There's a ladder missing on the top, so I'll have to source one if I can even find one. That is for one of these trucks, but it turned out really nice, I think, considering that everything was discolored and the windshield was all scratched. And it still is a little bit scratched, unfortunately, because some of the scratches are so deep that I don't want to have to sand. It's almost like sanding through the entire windshield, as you can see kind of there. But it turned out actually pretty nice. I'm surprised because these little lights on the top turned out pretty nice. But I think that's all we really needed to do with this thing. I might add a little more detail afterwards, because I don't know what kind of details this thing would have when it was a real fire truck. But I'd also like to thank you guys for getting me to 400 subscribers. That's very nice. And I thank you all for everyone that stayed with me during the 2 years that I've been on YouTube. And thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video if you want to. And I'll see you in the next video.